Hello, true duelists. My name is Craig Fee, and welcome to the Yu-Gi-Oh! Update. Another weekend, another core set, and another YCS have shown us yet another look at the ever-evolving metagame of Yu-Gi-Oh! That every single person on Twitter on this planet are experts on, as confirmed by them having Twitter accounts and lacking the ability to shut the fuck up. And I'm one of them. Yes, YCS Minneapolis took place this past weekend to some 1,092 duelists at the Minneapolis Convention Center, with both Sprite and Tearlaments having some solid new pieces of support for each of the two best decks in the current format. But Darkwing Blast also saw fit to give us a new dragon archetype in the Yugioh cards, which found quick home in a number of decks. Top 32 for the event gave us our look at the North American side of competitive dueling, with Runic Sprite having won the last YCS in Europe, YCS Utrecht. North American duelists continued to favor Tearlaments, it seems, with Tears taking just over half of the top 32, with 17 of the slots. Sprite had 9 spots, Fluwander Rees got 3 in the top 32, and for your one-ofs, Exo-Sister was an expected top, Bystial Dragonlink was similarly an unsurprising top, but interestingly, Bystial Thunder Dragon also got into top 32 as well. Congrats to the person who piloted that. Makes me want to look into playing it until I'm reminded of the harshest limited list in all of Yu-Gi-Oh!, the limited spending capabilities of my wallet. That was as far as the Thunder Dragon player would make it, however, and by the time we got to top 8, there were 4 tier variants, 3 sprite variants, and 2 Fluwander Rees variants. And by variants, I mean players. It's Flu. You know exactly what I'm talking about. If you're wondering how top 8 had 9 decks based on the numbers that I just listed, that would be because Chris LeBlanc played Sprite Tearlaments as the deck of choice, all the way into the finals where he played against a Fluwander Rees and won! Beating the bird, as all good Samaritans do, and earning himself his 4th YCS win to date. Huge congrats to LeBlanc, and in particular, not just for winning, but of course, beating Fluwander Rees on stream. The best entertainment dueling can provide. Thankfully, finals of this YCS went better than at Utrecht, and by better, I mean the entire game was done within like 15 minutes, so time rules didn't need to be a thing. Game 1 was lost by Michael Tamez making a misplay, and Game 2 was lost by a terrible hand from the birds. Doesn't take away from LeBlanc's win, to be clear. I just find it funny how no matter what you do to make tribute summoning decks good, they cannot beat the inevitable brick. The next YCS will be YCS Pasadena in California, and for EU players it'll be YCS Dortmund in Germany. Pasadena will be on the 5th and 6th of November, and Dortmund will be on November 12th and 13th. Both of these are taking place after the release of Magnificent Mavens, meaning we get to see either how much players are overhyping the Ishizu Tearlaments cards, or just how brutal that deck will be relative to the current format. And speaking of Ishizu cards, I personally, as a man with not only a camera but also the ability to turn it on and then put its recordings on YouTube, am very interested to see how good or bad they'll be to play against. I've now seen a number of notable names on Twitter complaining about how crazy the Ishizu cards can be, from Jeff Jones to Joshua Schmidt, players with multiple YCS tops and wins between them. Or YCS and SJC wins if you want to be pedantic, but you know what I mean, they're good players. And you have to wonder, if some of the best players aren't looking forward to it, what are the chances my broken, unskilled ass will be having fun? And while that may be a valid question for myself and a number of other more casually oriented players, I don't want to be here dooming and glooming. So remember, you can just not play the meta. You can instead choose to have fun. Granted, you can't choose to, have fun at locals if your locals is filled with, sweats and people playing the best deck. That's just an inevitability, but GOAT format, Edison format, I don't care if they banned the cat, I'm playing Prank Kids format. The world's your oyster. Hell, I've got video saying to play Dino Rabbit, released 10 years after that was even remotely a relevant deck. If you enjoy Ishizu Tears and the format that it brings, play away. this seems like it'll be an interesting format to develop the best answers to the best deck to get your wins, and if you aren't enjoying it, you can just play something else, or take a break until the ban list fixes this shit. I was the only one of my friends playing in 2018, and with the beauty of hindsight, I'd tell you they made the right call by not participating. It's a game. JDs and Lents, we're here to have fun, right? No, we're here to win. Only winning. No such thing as fun. Main deck 3's Vol, every floodgate. Skill drain, fun drain, I want to die drain, all of them main decked at 3 because the only thing that matters is me winning. I'm a gamer. Oh, let's just go on to the next segment. In other meta news, the OCG metagame has had its rundown since their latest ban list. And did it combat the domination that tiers have had over there? No, not even remotely. It did nothing at all, it would seem. Matter of fact, not even the new Kashitra deck has been enough to meaningfully impact the meta, as tiers still have 65% of the tops. Granted, I believe this chart here is taken from more of a locals level than the top tier tournaments, but locals are where you can expect the less viable decks to top in place of the best deck. So if you can't beat tiers at the locals level because they're just too all-encompassing, you probably won't beat them in the duels that actually matter at competitive events either. And speaking of the new Kashitra archetype, it has debuted for us here in the TCG in Darkwing Blast. With the set giving support to the current decks and some nostalgia ones, it's one with more value to its name than one might expect, especially if you've listened to my dumbass underhyping it. Looking at the prices of cards a week after the set released, there are some expected high values and some wild ones. Bestial Lubellion is about $75 per copy, no shock there, something had to be the money card of the set. But some shocks include Bestial Magnamut, a super rare that reached as high as $20 after YCS Minneapolis. It seems to have settled down to about the $12 mark the last I checked, but that's still more pricey than most other super rares you're probably accustomed to paying for. And then there's Kashitra Fenrir. Touted as the new Pankratops, it is a $60 Ultra. Very pricey Ultra Rare. Beyond that though, you won't believe it, but the Blackwing support is cheap as shit, and I can afford it. Huzzah, the script says. Why would I make myself say that? The free banish a card and body on the field. No, I can't afford that type of card. Shut up. I'm out here playing against Dragon Maid and Lightsworn. I don't need to sweat that hard. I'm just dueling and... yeah, I'm dueling. Also this week, the Amazing Defenders archetype have had their TCG names confirmed. Rescue Ace will be the name of the Firefighters. Minkenko will be the name of the Ritual Equipped deck I expect to be the most laughably unplayable thing I've seen in a long time. Sorry to Minkenko players, that deck does not seem like it's going to be good. And if I'm wrong about that, then we can all laugh at me for thinking that the Ritual Equip-based deck would be underwhelming in the future. And the cute one that I want to play is Purely. Is that Purely or like Purely? Is it supposed to be about a cat purring sound, or I don't know. I don't know. And I'm so goddamn inconsistent. I'm just gonna alternate as much as is possible until I hear other people saying in a specific way, and then I will be a mindless sheep and adopt that pronunciation independent of how good or bad it sounds, because what do you want me to do? Make a decision for myself? Nah. Doesn't matter either way, because the set will not be out until January of 2023, on the 19th for European players and on the 20th for the North Americans. In community news, check out this man's, who graced the YCS stream this past weekend with this clip of him dancing, which is a damn good one, and I'm going to highlight it in this segment. A man who decided that regardless of how the event was going or would go, regardless of how the opening hand would be sacky one-ofs or just the tits for him to go off full combo, he was just gonna jam the fuck out, and I respect that. Also this week, YouTuber The ActMan has released the first of a few videos he'll be making over our favorite card game. It's a 40-minute run-through of a Yugi Boomer's take, but I don't mean that entirely negatively. Sure, he makes the pot of greed joke, he goes for the card collection equals virginity gem, and the pendulum monsters have too much text complaint, but Even if they're opinions that I personally am tired of hearing, that doesn't make them entirely invalid. If you ask me, it's a pretty fair take on the game from someone who is not invested into it over the past decade like, say, myself has been. In the video, I feel you can tell he has a passion for the game. He does enjoy playing it. He doesn't make critiques out of malice, more out of a frustration from some of the more insane aspects of the game in the current day, which I have complaints about too. And I'm sure learning about 4 new summoning mechanics all at once is a lot more overwhelming than over the course of the past decade like I did, who was, playing and just had to learn about Xyz and then learn that for 4 years before Pendulum came out. I think you get my drift. Shit, I may just make a video reacting to his, because I have a decent amount to say on it, and fuck it, I'm a YouTuber, kinda. I make YouTube videos. Surely that means at some point I have to react to things, right? Either way, it is a solid watch of a video, and the outreach to bigger names in the game and community, such as Farfa or Paul from Team APS, and even Slaydra for the throwback. I did not expect to see him. I recommend you give it a look. And so that'll wrap it up for this week's update. As always, I'm your host, Craig Fee, and make sure you subscribe to Yugioh Strats for next week's update, and so you too can be a true duelist.